Thank you so much. You know, people asked, why did we decide to come to Nevada? Well, you guys did some remarkable work in 2016, my friends, and we're here to say thank you for your great work in electing some remarkable people. You know what, folks? You said, heck no, to that Joe Heck, and you elected the first Latina to the United States Senate. You know, when things didn't go, and by the way, in 2018, you're not just going to say heck no, you're going to say hell no. Because, you know, the lesson of 2016 here in Nevada is very simple. The lesson was when you organize, when you stand for your values, you elect good Democrats. And that's what you did. You elected Democrats to Congress. You have the State House. You have the House of Representatives. And that's because you organized. So we wanted to come out here to learn from you and to say thank you and to say we are going to do the exact same thing again, not only here in Nevada, but across the country in 2018 and in 2017. It has been an absolute honor for me to be traveling over the last few days with Senator Bernie Sanders. I'm so excited to be here. And you know, I've been doing this for about 4 different reasons, and I want to explain to you why we've been doing this, folks, because I think it's really important. I have wanted to learn. As the new chair of the party, I've wanted to learn the energy that he has captured across America. I want to make sure that we channel that energy, that we learn from that energy, so that we can continue to move forward and put our values into action. I'm also, my friends, I am also acutely aware of the fact that we have work to do as a Democratic Party to earn your trust. And you know what, folks? You know what, folks? I am very aware of the fact that you gotta make house calls in this job. And that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been in Detroit. I've been in Flint. We've been in 8 states over the last 6 days. And we're out there listening because good leaders are good listeners. And that's why I'm happy to be here. I'm here to tell you because I want to talk to you about why I am so proud to be a Democrat and what we have to do moving forward. Because what I have heard, my friends, in my conversations with people is we need to articulate our values clearly, what we stand for, what we're about, and that's what we will do today. Because when we put our values in action, we succeed. And folks, I'm here today because you know what? Our greatest strength is our unity of values. And when we put our unity into action, we succeed. And my friends, right now, we have existential threats around this country. Donald Trump is the most dangerous president in American history. And we must unite. We must unite around our values of inclusion and opportunity. These first 100 days have been an unmitigated disaster. Donald Trump, plainly and simply, is a fraud. He promises things and he does not deliver. You know best here in Nevada. You were the ground zero in the foreclosure crisis. So many people who lost their homes. What does Donald Trump do on day 1? Now, I'm not talking about day 3. Hours into his presidency, he makes it harder for first-time home buyers to buy a home. Shame on him. He appointed a nominee to the Supreme Court who wants to try to put a fork in collective bargaining. Are there any union members in the room? Thank you for bringing us the weekend. I firmly believe that when unions succeed, America succeeds. When unions succeed, the middle class succeeds. And these assaults by Donald Trump on the union movement are unconscionable. It's not a coincidence that they are picking on the labor movement and Planned Parenthood, because the labor movement and Planned Parenthood are the fundamental pillars of grassroots progressive activism in this country. We will stand with the labor movement. We will stand with Planned Parenthood. We will stand together. You have seen not only assaults on the labor movement, you've seen these unconscionable assaults on immigrant rights. Just this week, a dreamer in Los Angeles deported. 3 days ago, a mother of 4 citizen children in Ohio deported. That is not what we stand for as a nation. Our diversity is our greatest strength. Somos los Estados Unidos. No somos los Estados divididos. We're the United States of America, not the divided States of America. And we will continue to fight, because dreamers are not simply a group of people looking for opportunity. It's a damn good value statement of who we are as a nation. We're a nation of dreamers. We're a nation of doers. And that is who we are. And that's who we will always be. These first 100 days have seen a frontal assault on science. And today is Earth Day. And you know what, folks? Without science, it's just fiction. But Donald Trump lives in a world of fiction, a world of alternative facts. I was 12 years old when my father died of a heart attack. If they had the technology and the drug therapy today, if they had it back then, my father would still be alive. Science is keeping me alive because I got bad genes. Science is curing and helping other people stay alive. We need to be continuing that fight. And we need, my friends, we need to continue to fight against these unmitigated assaults on women's economic security and women's reproductive health. It is just one of the first actions that Donald Trump took as president was to bring back the global gag rule, banning America's support for international organizations that provide critical health services or even basic information about abortion to millions of vulnerable women. And that same week, the House Republicans passed a bill to make the Hyde Amendment permanent law. Then Trump nominated now Justice Gorsuch, who has made it clear what he would do to women's reproductive health. And just last week, he signed a bill allowing states to deny funds for Planned Parenthood and rip away critical health services for millions of low-income women. These attacks on reproductive rights are happening everywhere. I was just in Kentucky earlier this week, where the Republican governor there is trying to close the only clinic left in the state. And perhaps, my friends, the most important and dangerous assault on women's health is happening right now. And that is the assault on the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act is a lifesaver, my friends. You know it, you've seen it, and you fought for it. We believe that women should have a choice over what they do with their reproductive health rights, because we know that when women succeed, America succeeds. And you know, but despite all of these protections, they want to eliminate the Affordable Care Act. And the thing I don't understand, my friends, is Donald Trump he loves to brand himself. He loves to brand his hotels. He loves to brand his steaks. He loves to brand everything else. But you know what? He does not want anything branded Trump care. Well, maybe Ryan care. I'll tell you what I'd call it. I don't care, because he doesn't give a damn about health care. Health care for all, my friends, is a right, not a privilege. Health care is a right, and we will fight to make it that way. I will tell you, my friends, you know what? the most important thing, my friends, health care for all. Let's make sure we have health care for all as a right and not a privilege. But I'll tell you, folks, the energy in this room and across this country reminds me of what the most important element of the first 100 days are. The most important aspect of the first 100 days is not what Donald Trump is trying to do. It's what you have been doing across this country. That's what it is. I was just in Georgia the day before yesterday. I met with Jon Ossoff. He's going to be the next member of Congress from District 6 in Georgia. We see energy everywhere. And you know what, my friends? January 20th was an important day in America. But January 21st was far more important because women, thank you, women, across this state, across this country, across this world, came together to say, Donald Trump, you don't stand for our values. And we've been doing it everywhere since. And that is the most important power that we have as a nation. And we continue to see that energy. In Georgia, 5 months ago, Mr. Price won by 24 points. Jon Ossoff got over 48% of the vote this past Tuesday. And on June the 20th, he will win. The Democratic Party will be there to help him there. We'll be in Montana. We'll be in state and local races because our job is to elect good Democrats from the school board to the Senate. And we will be here in Nevada to help you elect good Democrats to the Senate, to the governor's race, to the Attorney General across this state. Because that's what we have to do as Democrats, my friend. And you know what? This leads me to one of the most important things I have learned, which is this. We must not only talk about how much Donald Trump is turning America back, but we must talk about what we stand for as Democrats. I've heard that. I was here last week. I was talking to some steel workers, and I remember it vividly. Someone who said to me, you know what, Tom? I can't tell the difference. I don't know who to trust. I heard someone else earlier this week on our trip say, Tom, I need you to articulate, what are you about? What do you stand for? And I'm here to tell you what I stand for and what the Democratic Party stands for. We stand for an America in which everybody has a chance to succeed, not just those at the top. We believe in a government and an economy that works for everyone, not just for the privileged few. We believe that we all succeed only when we all succeed. We believe that health care is a right for all and not a privilege for a few. We believe that education is the great equalizer, and we should have a Secretary of Education who actually believes in public education. And you know what, folks? I will tell you, you are in a unique position to do something about that. Because for the first time in our nation's history, first time ever, this past cycle, the Secretary of Education vote was 50-50. That's never happened. And the Vice President had to break the tie. Where was Dean Heller on that? If he had voted the right way, she would not have been confirmed. Do not forget that. Remind people about that, because that is very important. The assaults on public education continue. To all of you school teachers in this room, thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you do to educate our children. If we paid school teachers according to the value that you give to society, you would all be millionaires, because what you do for us is priceless. Thank you. Democrats believe in public education. Democrats believe that our diversity is our greatest strength as a nation. It's what makes America great. Democrats believe in comprehensive immigration reform. Democrats believe in dreamers. We believe that zip code should never determine destiny in this country, that every person is gifted and talented. We believe that when unions succeed, America succeeds. We believe that climate change is very real on this day. It is not a hoax. And we believe that the head of the EPA ought to believe in climate change as a problem and not be in the pocket of the industry. We believe, my friends, that the right to vote is sacred, and we should be making it easier, not harder, for eligible people to vote across this country. We believe that if you were, nobody who works a full-time job should have to live in poverty. When you work a full-time job, you should earn a full-time wage. We believe in all of these, my friends. We believe in the importance of all of these rights. We believe that when women succeed, America succeeds. We have so much diversity in this room, so much diversity around this country, and we are doing so much for so many people, but we have so much work left to do. And that is why I'm so excited to be here with you, because you know what, folks? We are the United States of America. When we bring people together, when we understand that women's economic health and women's health is about economic security, when we understand these issues, when we're moving forward together as a people, when we're understanding that people want to improve the lot of their lives, and when we do that together, that is how we succeed. That is what we are as a nation. That is the United States that we are building as Democrats. The biggest difference between Democrats and Republicans, in my mind, is pronouns. We're the party of we, and they're the party of me. It's all about themselves. It's not about anyone but themselves. We understand that when we are a compassionate nation, we are a strong nation. And we must be a compassionate nation. When we have the skinny budget of this president, he calls it a skinny budget. I call it something else that begins with S. And my mama taught me you shouldn't do potty talk, but I hope you don't mind, because this is a shitty budget. When you zero out funding for Meals on Wheels, when you tell that elderly person, I'm sorry, I got to go to Mar-a-Lago. If you took 2 less trips a month to Mar-a-Lago, you could probably fund every Meals on Wheels recipient right here in Nevada. That's what you could do. But you know what, folks? Budgets are moral documents. They reflect the values of the nation. And when you are defunding public education, you're making it harder for our children to succeed. When you're defunding Planned Parenthood, you're making it harder for women to get access to reproductive health. When you're making it harder for highways to be built, I sit in a lot of traffic in this town. I suspect you do as well, if you're like me. And we've got to change that as well. And so that's where we need to go, my friends. We have a lot of work to do. And as we move forward, I think it's really important to remember the words. I had the privilege of working for someone named Ted Kennedy, the liberal lion of the United States Senate. And Ted Kennedy, his brother Bobby, said something that resonated with me then and resonates with me now. In the 1960s, another challenging era in our nation's history, he said, he was marching with Cesar Chavez on behalf of farm workers. And he said the following: we stand at a defining moment in history, a moment of difficulty and danger that would determine our country's fate and future. And he went on to say, when your children and grandchildren take their place in America, taking good jobs at good pay, you will tell them, I was there. I stood up. I marched. I did this. My friends, we may not have the White House, we may not have the House or the Senate, but we've got something far more important, the collective power of we, the resistance in this room, people of good faith, people of values. When we put our values in action, when we understand that we are our brother's keeper and our sister's keeper, when we put those values in action, my friends, that is how we succeed as a nation. Our values are our best movement forward. Our values and our energy and our optimism. When hope is on the ballot, Democrats do well. When fear gets put on the ballot, we don't do so hot. And that is why, as Democrats, we will continue the march forward with optimism, with opportunity, standing up for working people, standing up for diversity and inclusion, standing up for those fundamental values that make our United States indeed united. And when we are united, my friends, we are at our best. And that is why we will move forward together. And it gives me great, great pleasure at this moment to introduce someone who frankly needs no introduction, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. All right. I gotta catch a plane. We got some work to do. Let's get to it. Let me thank William McCurdy. Let me thank Cheyenne Clements. Let me thank Gabrielle Amato Bailey. Let me thank Congresswoman Dina Titus. Let me thank DNC Chair Tom Perez, and let me thank Cecile Richards for being here today. And let me just start by saying a word about Planned Parenthood, an organization which is under unprecedented attack all over the country. And what you got is the utmost hypocrisy on the part of Republicans who tell us every day how much they believe in choice. You have the right to choose this. You have the right to choose that. 2.5 million women have chosen Planned Parenthood as the place they want to get health care. And we are not going to allow right-wing Republicans to take away that choice. Dean Heller, pay attention. And the second part of that issue that really gets to me, again, the utmost in hypocrisy, is the Republican mantra is get government off our backs. Leave the American people alone to live their lives. But somehow, when a woman wants to make a decision about the future of her life, the government is supposed to step in. That's wrong. That's hypocrisy. Women in this country will determine and control their own bodies, not the United States government. Now, we are living in very difficult times. We have an economic crisis. We have a political crisis. We've got a social crisis. We've got a racial crisis. And last but not least, we have a major environmental crisis. And by the way, next time I come back to Nevada, a beautiful state which has an unlimited natural resource, you demand your state government to move into solar. Nevada should be leading this country in terms of moving to sustainable energy. We are living in unprecedented times. Our middle class is in decline. We have 43 million people living in poverty, some in dire poverty. But almost all of the new income and wealth created in America today is going to the top 1%. And our job together is to stand up, to fight back, and create an economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%. There are women in Nevada and in Vermont today who have beautiful babies. They're single moms. They're making $30,000, $40,000 a year. They can't pay $15,000 a year for quality child care. We need to make child care universal and affordable. In my state of Vermont, you got people working 2 or 3 jobs, and millions of people are working longer hours for lower wages. Here in Nevada and Vermont, we've had people working for decades at a factory, at a union, making decent pay. And one day they walk into that factory and the boss says, sorry, we're moving to China, we're moving to cheap labor, you're out of your job. And those people are now working for 50 or 60% of what they used to earn. We need trade policies that work for the American people, not the CEOs of large corporations. In America today, shamefully, we have more income and wealth inequality than any major country on earth. This is not only an economic issue, which it is a moral issue. As a nation, now you don't see this on TV, this is not what the networks talk about, and you're surely not going to read about it in Sheldon Adelson's newspaper. But as a nation, we have got to ask ourselves some pretty simple questions. And that is it morally acceptable that today the top 1/10 of 1% now owns as much wealth as the bottom 90%? Is that what America is about? Is it morally acceptable that the 20 wealthiest people in this country now have more wealth than the bottom half of America? Is it morally acceptable that one family, the Walton family of Walmart, owns more wealth than the bottom 42% of the American people? And by the way, if I may say, I know that my Republican colleagues think they win political points by attacking poor people who are on welfare. I got that. But you know who the largest welfare recipient is in this country? You are a smart audience. You got it. Walmart, owned by the wealthiest family in this country, pays wages that are so low that many of their employees are forced to go on Medicaid, food stamps, and subsidized housing, which you pay for. Middle class of this country is tired of subsidizing the Walton family. And I say to them, get off of welfare, pay your workers a living wage. But it is not just distribution of wealth, it's income as well. Here in Nevada, and I've had the opportunity to be here a number of times, I see people who are working 50, 60 hours a week. I see women husbands, kids working incredible hours. And yet 52% of all new income generated goes to the top 1%. That is a rigged economy, and that's the type of economy we are going to change. But it is not just a rigged economy, it is a corrupt political system. Because billionaires like Mr. Adelson and the Koch brothers and others, they're not putting their money underneath their mattresses. They are buying politicians. And as a result of this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decisions, you got the Koch brothers and others spending hundreds of billions of dollars supporting candidates who will work for the rich and the powerful. And that's why we have got to get money out of politics. That is why we have got to overturn Citizens United. And that is why we have got to move toward public funding of elections. Now, the reason that Donald Trump and Paul Ryan and all these guys could come up with disastrous health care plans and disastrous budgets that work for the billionaires but are a disaster for working people is because they control the U.S. House, they control the U.S. Senate, and, of course, they control the White House. And, by the way, they control almost two-thirds of governors' chairs throughout this country. And in the last 9 years, Democrats have lost some 900 legislative seats in legislatures all across this country. It seems to me that we have got to rethink the model of the Democratic Party. We need a party. We need a party which is functioning not just on the East Coast and the West Coast, but in every state in this country. We need a party that opens its doors to working people and young people. We need you. We need you to be getting involved in the political process in a way you have never been involved before. Running for school board, running for city council, running for state legislature, supporting progressive candidates up and down the line, fighting for women's rights, fighting for gay rights, fighting to reverse our energy system and combat climate change. We need you. But the truth is, it's one thing to open the door, which we have to do. But at the end of the day, people are not going to come in unless we have a progressive agenda. Now, all of us know that right now we are battling to prevent the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. We cannot allow 24 million Americans to be thrown off of health insurance. We cannot allow $800 billion to be cut from Medicaid. We cannot allow premiums to soar for older workers. We will not allow Planned Parenthood to be defunded. But what we also know is the day after we defeat the effort to repeal the Affordable Care Act, we're going to go forward and join the rest of the industrialized world. Health care for all. Within the next month, with your support and the support of organizations all over this country, we're going to be introducing a Medicare for All single-payer program. And when we talk about health care, we're going to end the disgrace of the pharmaceutical industry ripping us off every day. Not acceptable that we pay the highest prices in the world, that 1 out of 5 Americans can't afford the prescriptions their doctors write, while 2 years ago, the 5 major drug companies made $50 billion in profits. We are going to end the greed of the pharmaceutical industry, lower prices, so make them affordable for every person in this country. And when we talk about why the middle class is in decline, why many of you are working 50 or 60 hours a week, the answer lies in the fact that wages in America are too damn low. And that is why we are going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour. And when we talk about pay, I know that every man in this room will stand with the women and end the disgrace of women making 79 cents on the dollar. Equal pay for equal work. That's what we need. All of us remember, and Nevada remembers, what the greed, recklessness, and illegal behavior of Wall Street did to this state and this country. If you can believe it, the Republicans now are talking again about deregulating Wall Street. Well, I've got a very different idea, and that is it's time to break up the major financial institutions in this country. You know, I hear a lot of talk among my Republican colleagues about family values. Oh, they just love families and children. Well, if you love family values, then join me and other Democrats in fighting for guaranteed, paid family and medical leave. We cannot be the only major country that says to a woman in Nevada or a woman in Vermont who's giving birth today that she'll have to get back to work in a week or two because she doesn't have the income to sustain her family. That is not a family value. That's the opposite of a family value. 12 weeks paid family and medical leave. And by the way, when we talk about an economy and decent jobs, everybody here knows that we live in a highly competitive global economy. Everybody here knows that most of the new jobs being created require a higher education. 50 years ago, it was okay if you had a high school degree, you can go out and get a good job. By and large, that is not the case today. Today, we need to understand that when we talk about free public education, it's not just K through 12. We're going to make public colleges and universities tuition free. How many of you have student debt, paying off student debt? There you go. Well, it seems to me that in this country we should be encouraging people to get the best education they can, not punishing people. We're going to substantially lower student debt as well. And we're going to pay for all of that through a tax on Wall Street speculation. In the United States today, shamefully, we have more people in jail than any other country on earth. We have a criminal justice system which is broken. Our job at a time when minority communities and rural communities throughout this country have youth unemployment of 20, 30, 40%, our job is to invest in job creation and education, not jails and incarceration. And there's another issue out there which is very personal to me. I am the son of an immigrant. My father came to this country at the age of 17 without a penny in his pocket. He came from Poland. So I know a little bit about the immigrant experience. Today we have 11 million undocumented people in this country, and we have a president who is scapegoating those people. We have people who are living in fear, people who are living in the shadows, people who are getting exploited on the job every single day. President Trump, instead of scapegoating the undocumented, work with us for comprehensive immigration reform and a path towards citizenship. Brothers and sisters, you all know that the scientific community is now unanimous, virtually unanimous, in telling us that climate change is real, climate change is caused by human activity, climate change is already doing devastating harm in our country, around the world. And what the scientists also tell us, if we don't get our act together today, we're going to see more rising sea levels, more acidification of the ocean, more drought, more flood, more extreme weather disturbances. And I say to President Trump, no, Mr. President, climate change is not a hoax. It is a very dangerous reality. Listen to the scientists who are out on the streets, not the fossil fuel industry and their lobbyists. Brothers and sisters, Frederick Douglass, the great abolitionist, told us 150 years ago that real progress never takes place without struggle. People are not going to give you freedom. People are not going to give you justice. They're not going to give you dignity if you don't have the guts to stand up and fight for it. That is the history of the workers' movement, workers who stood up and said, we are human beings, not beasts of burden. We're not going to have children working in factories. We're going to have a union to represent our rights. It is the history of the civil rights movement, of the African American community and their white allies standing up and saying we will end racism and segregation in America. It is the history of the women's movement. The children don't know this, that 100 years ago today, women did not even have the right to vote. They couldn't get the education they wanted. They could not get the jobs they dreamed of doing. But women stood up, fought back, and with their male allies said, women in America will not be second-class citizens. Struggle is the history of the gay movement in this country. People who had been persecuted and humiliated decade after decade kept fighting until the day came when the United States Supreme Court said that people in this country should have the right to love whoever they want, regardless of their gender. If we were in this room 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and somebody jumped up and said, you know, Bernie, this $7.25 minimum wage is a starvation wage. We've got to raise that minimum wage to $15 an hour. If somebody said that, others in the room would have said, you're crazy. That's too ambitious. You can't double the minimum wage. But you know what happened? Courageous people in the fast food industry went out on strike, stood up and fought back. And now, all over this country, cities and states are raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. So that's where we are today. We have made progress, but obviously there is much more to be done. Trump and his friends and the billionaire class, yeah, they got a lot of money and they got a lot of power. But we have something that they don't have. We have the people. And our job is to bring the people together, to get people involved in the political process in a way we have never seen in the history of this country. And when we do that, when millions of people stand up and demand a government that represents all of us, demand an economy that represents all of us and not just the 1%, when we do that, we are going to create a nation the likes of which this world has never seen. Thank you all.